release what's inside me.
That is all around. There's more. And I'm just going to switch my audio over here, make sure that I. There we go. That is called All Around There's More. That is by an artist on our label named George Millette. He lives up near the shores of Lake Ontario, bought a house in the country, completely renovated it, built a beautiful home studio. The guy is like an amazing craftsman at so many things as well, music and writing, recording, and producing his own music as a multi-instrumentalist, and also has other artists who come in and do work on his recordings. So watch for that. It's called All Around There's More. And I'm going to pause that and invite my co-host, Sean McKenna, to the show. He's the co-host with the most on the East Coast. Sean McKenna from the podcast Bar Stools and Band Talk, Rim Shots with Sean, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Here he is.
Hola.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. What's going on?
Kisses backwards. I got to fix that.
Take that mirroring off. That's the problem.
There we go.
There we go. Oh, look at that. He's got his Kiss stuff forward this time. He had Duke on there.
Oh,
what vintage is that?
which vintage?
Yeah.
In terms of the logo?
Yeah.
Probably 77.
Okay. Is that a fairly new acquisition that
No, I got this from a place called Rocker Chic Boutique in Fredericton back in October.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So tonight we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. We're going to talk about your recent experience as a judge.
my recent experience.
Not a judge of the law, of course.
You mean this time?
This time, yeah. Well, he's been before a judge before, but not in this capacity.
Actually, it's a funny. Can I tell you a quick funny story?
Well, sure. We know about that.
2019, I was driving on. Anybody out here would know the Bedford Highway, and I had my wallet in my hand because somebody had called me, and I had my hands free on. And anyway, I look out the back and I see the lights, and I get a cell phone infraction, and it was my wallet. It wasn't actually a cell phone. It took me till 2021 to get that thrown out of court because of COVID and all that stuff. And twice the Crown called me and had a phone conversation and basically tried to knock it down and knock points off. And I was like, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm going to go to court. And they threatened me with, my insurance is going to go up. And
wow, that's crazy.
Anyway, long story short, the cop didn't show up the night that I went into court to do it, and it got thrown out. So I've been to court, yes.
Yeah, well, if you care enough about your case, you should show up to court, right?
Absolutely.
And if you don't, you snooze, you lose.
Absolutely. Agree 100%.
So like recently, so tell people this organization that asked you to be a judge for them.
I was asked to be part of the East Coast Music Awards. So the ECMAs is what everybody's known or knows them as. And I think it was in November that I did it. And the nominees were announced yesterday. I initially was going to do one category, and I ended up doing two.
That's an interesting You talked to me about the process. So when you are judging the category that they give you to judge, you've already got a list of nominees.
Yeah, there was, I believe, in both categories that I took part in, there was about 30 nominees.
So you're not involved in the nomination process?
I'm not. Now, the nomination process isn't a crazy, as far as I understood it, and if anybody is out there that is watching wants to correct me, from what I understand, if you put your name forward and you hit all the markers, so they were looking for socials, they were looking for music, they were looking for. There was a whole host of things. If you met all the check marks, then you got through to be considered to be a nominee. I mean, if you just kind of put your band name forward, you weren't gonna be picked. There was a set of criteria, but if you hit the markers, you had a shot.
So you had to have a presence.
Well, I
Well, yeah,
guess.
no.
And I say that because I'm looking at some of the bands that put some stuff forward, and and I'm thinking, okay, you never know, right? I mean, I've been doing this podcasting, social media, whatever thing for be 4 years in April, and there was some acts that their socials were like not even a 15th of,
Non-existent.
well, not even a 15th of what I had. So
Yeah.
that was interesting. And there were some others that, you know, frankly, the gigs were okay. I guess they were relevant. Um,
So give me a score out of 30. So you got 30 people that were put forward for you to judge on.
yeah,
30 acts or 30 artists.
yeah.
And of those 30 artists, how many of those were sort of anomalies? I don't know who. I've never heard of them, or they hardly exist on social media, or they don't have much of a following.
There was a lot for me. There was a lot, and I'll say this. I was almost, and I've kind of have this Habs Leafs thing with the ECMAs and Music Nova Scotia. Well, and there's a reason for it, okay? And the reason is when we first started Barstools and we kind of immediately got a presence, we went to both associations and said, hey, you know what? We, as part of our thing, we would love to come out and cover the awards and whatever. And we were basically told that no, you're about cover bands and bars, which is like, okay, thanks for watching, because at that point I don't think we did a single piece on a cover band. So that was kind of their stance, and they've never really they've always kind of ignored what I do, which is fine. I don't, it is what it is. So to be asked to be part of this was pretty cool. And I will say that uh, you know they did a good job to provide an awful lot of information to which you could judge the acts that were put forward.
Right. We're being watched as far away as Australia tonight.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool doing the live shows because you get some real time analytics about who's watching you and where they're watching you from. So it's kind of cool. We got people that far away watching the show.
Love
Thanks
it.
for joining us tonight, Steve Neville. And he's not showing in the chat, but you can go to the chat room if you got something you want to say to us tonight. You got a beef, you got something you want to say, put it out there. We'll talk about it, right, Sean?
Every night is Festivus
there it is
in the
there
chat
it
room.
is. There it is from Australia. Good day, guys.
G'day.
Good day. That's from Steve Neville. He is in Australia, and he has a writing partner named Brad, and I've featured their music on the show before.
Maybe Steve can answer this question. Why is it all the good Australian bands travel up to wind up in the UK? I think AC/DC, I think the Bee Gees did that. Air Supply might have done it. Because I interviewed a couple of bands from Australia, and from what I hear, they've got a smoking rock scene down there.
Yeah, I mean, UK's. I mean, I think Australia's also been one of those places where people test themselves out and then go to other places. But UK's always been a hotbed for music too.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of radio over in the UK, a lot of internet radio over in the UK.
My takeaway when I was over there in the summertime, the whole 10 days I was there, was that, you know what, I could come over here and play, and I'd be fine not playing in the United States, just playing Europe, because the venues are really neat. They're different. They're I don't even know how to describe them, but they're just very, very unique, right? They're not these kind of newish um, looking things, and it's very cool. So it'd be very cool to just tour over there all year.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really, really cool stuff, that happens over in those places across the pond. There's no doubt about it. In terms of music and sort of the great stuff that's out there, and where artists go. Steve, he didn't answer that question yet, so I'm still looking for an answer here, Steve. Maybe you got one, maybe you don't.
I'm sure he
Let us
will.
know. let us know about that one.
Yeah.
So I mean, like I said, going back to this whole judging thing,
Yeah.
I just think that there's always room for the system to be gamed. Oh, here he is right here. He says they saw the bigger picture, took the chance, made their dreams come true.
Yeah, that's it. Great. That's a great line. I love it.
That's a typical Aussie line, like three short sentences, not
Yeah.
like Canadians who speak in run-on terms.
Well, it depends what part of Canada you're talking about. Um, what I want to say about this process, though, because somebody else asked me this, and I've always heard people say, and I've maybe said it, it's political, it's this, it's that. I didn't have anybody telling me to vote in a certain way. I didn't have anybody follow up with me except when I got my first round in and they asked me if I could do another round. Um, there was none of that for me personally. And so what I guess I was able to do to the best of my abilities was look at what was put before me and try to disseminate all the information that was there and get my scores in a reasonable time.
Yeah, I think there's some things that where I don't know. I run into this thing when I vote for the Junos. It's the same thing. You get a number of people thrown at you in a category. Those are your only choices. You have to choose from those, and to really give it its dues, there's a lot of investment of time, especially if it's an artist you're not overly familiar with. Um, because there's a whole raft of questions that enter my mind, right? In terms of, are they going to get my vote? And one of those things is, what's their catalog of music like? Does their catalog of music show growth as an artist, right? And I'm talking everything from songwriting to the lyrics to production. Is everything they're doing as an artist showing some level of development?
Yeah, that's a fair statement. And one of the things too that was interesting was that I'm going through the rock category and I don't recognize a lot of these bands. And my first thought is, man, I got to really start diving into this scene because you hear different bands names around the city. There was a handful of them I had never heard before. So the first time that I'm hearing them is their demo tape or their tape their album that they had put out. And I'm looking at their list of venues and all the places that they played, and I'm like, okay, wow, this is wild. But I didn't know a lot of the people that I was judging, which I think was good because I was judging on my opinion and what I was hearing. Um,
Hmm.
I guess the glitch in the whole thing uh, might be, and this is just my opinion, but it might be the fact that because you've got so much to go through in a very short period of time, you get overwhelmed, and instead of really paying it the proper attention, you just start, voting uh, favorably or more favorably for the names that you recognize, and
Right.
that would be my possible takeaway.
Well, I want to talk about some stuff tonight. I want to talk about music because the music that we talk about is stuff that really comes from grassroots indie music, which is maybe a little bit different than sort of more mainstream stuff. And we've got a whole bunch of music coming out in the next month or so from Indie Tunes Records. I mean, I want to talk a little bit about that tonight because um, some really cool stuff is happening. We got I'd Hide a Body for You. That's My Wicked Twin. That's coming out on February the 9th. Um, have you seen the preview of the video?
I saw the whole video.
Does it push artistic boundaries or what?
It's very cool. I mean, it's super creative. There's no question. I think that it'll be interesting to see. I wasn't offended in any way. I thought, from what I saw. Well, no, seriously, from what I saw, it was a gentleman, and in this case, Brent, who wrote the song, who used a particular concept to come up with something that I thought was great. And typically, a lot of times, I'll hear a song, and I might not listen to the whole thing, And I love the riff right off the bat. What I did is I watched it with the video, then I turned I did it again without the video, then I did it a third time with the video. The song is killer. I mean, it's just what a riff. And then,
It's a song filled with. I mean, the video is filled with a bit of body lust. It's filled with some definitely some over sexual overtones. It's definitely controversial in the sense that there's certainly lots of things that suggest violence in it.
yeah.
And and I think it's to drive home a point, but the artistic value of the video is, to me, it's off the charts. And I'm going to ask Brent, if we have him on the show talking about that, is if he ever smoked weed with Andy Warhol.
or Russ Meyer.
Yeah, or Russ Meyer, or maybe what's the guy that made Pulp Fiction?
Quentin Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino, another creative genius who has tons of violence in all of his movies.
Yep.
I don't think there's ever. I mean, what's the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Another great movie.
I mean, his movies to me are, Reservoir Dogs. I've never watched that thing all the way through.
Okay, I've got a director's cut of that here, and it's still sitting on box. I haven't even watched it yet.
Yeah, some people get wild with me when I'll tell them certain movies that I haven't watched. Like I haven't watched any Star Wars. I haven't watched any Star Trek. I watched the whatever the latest Avatar movie was, but never watched any before that. Didn't watch any Harry Potter. Just not my jam.
Anyways, that we digress, but this is a great single coming out. I'd hide a body for you. Brent's got a previous single that's topped over 10,000 streams off his Ashtray Sonatas album. And if you have not listened to Ashtray Sonatas, then you need to go and listen to it. You can listen to it for free off of our website, but better yet, you can download and purchase the whole album off our website. I know Brent would appreciate that. And it's at indietunes.com. You can check it out there. We got another one coming out. Let's Get On It. So this tune is kind of a dancey, poppy kind of tune written by George Millette. Now, interesting thing about George, because he wrote the one that we listened to tonight, All Around There's More, which has that sort of sad, dark feel to it. I named it Dreamscape because it has a sort of a dreamy effect with the guitars and whatnot. And I thought it was kind of a cool thing. And I came up with the artwork for it, and I'll show you that in a minute. But he's got a new single coming out, and it's called Let's Get On It. And it's funny because he said, it's been a long time since I've written a happy song. He said, I can't remember when I've written a happy song before. He said, all my songs, a lot of my songs are written when I'm in some of the lowest times in my life.
Yeah. And it's there's different sorts of songwriters. There's ones that come up with a riff and kind of like, they just want one line to rhyme with the next one. That's about as far as it goes. And then there's other people that are super deep with what they do. So, and again, a lot of people, songwriting's therapy. So if he was in a good mood that day, great.
We've already featured a little bit of Brent's song in there, but I think next week we'll feature a bit of George's as well. It's kind of cool. It's got a neat groove to it. Let's Get On It. And even the lyrics in it have some deep meaning in them as well, even though it's a happy song. So what I like about George is that he's an awesome producer. He's an awesome multi-instrumentalist as well as a vocalist. And Sean, you would love him because he's your drummer.
That's funny.
Yeah, he's a drummer who writes writes and records all of his own stuff, but he also plays in a fairly popular band, and they do a lot of private gigs.
Oh, cool.
So interesting guy for you to get to know, I'm sure. Next is on the list is Lost on You. This is comes up by a band called Brutal Republic. Let me see if I can I want to show some of the artwork for some of this stuff because it's kind of cool. So let me just see if I can get there. So all this great new music is coming out. Sean's one of his writing partners has got a new single that's going to be coming out. We're going to be slating a date for that as well. As Michelle puts a song out, right?
Well, just a little plug. It's Michelle and Mark Horton, and Mark Horton works for a company down here called Sonic Events. So Mark brings a lot of the talent into Halifax. Mark is a guitar player in our band. He's also a world class sound engineer. He's worked with Sum 41. He's worked with Theory of a Dead Man. He's worked with Nora Jones. He's worked with the Chieftains. He knows what he's doing. So Michelle and Mark co-wrote that. Well, there's. I'm pretty sure it's "Lie to Me" is the one that's going to come out next.
Right. I'm going to share this right now. So this is the artwork off of Jeremy Ober's new single coming out. Jeremy Ober with Brutal Republic. It's called "Lost on You."
Very cool.
There's the artwork there. They got a buddy of theirs that does all this cool artwork for them. And let's
That
see if I
reminds
got.
me of what is it that the Scream? What is it that painting of the guy screaming? That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, it's interesting artwork, no doubt about it. I'm going to see if I can find George's here just to share that with you as well, because it's kind of cool as well. So this is called "Let's Get on It," and I'm going to put that artwork up there. We'll share that screen. You can see this one as well. There it is, right there.
Very cool.
That, my friend, I produced that for George.
Okay.
Did the lettering on it and produced that. That is art by AI. So all created by artificial intelligence, and you walk the artificial intelligence through a theme of what you're looking for, and you teach it, and it renders you artwork based on your input.
That's where we're going with all this stuff, right?
Well, I mean, it's kind of crazy, right, when you think about it. But I mean, yeah, I mean, but isn't that cool? Look at that. It's like an inked on canvas.
That so and obviously Brent's video was constructed with AI. I've actually started dabbling in it a little bit on some of the Barstool stuff. Not crazy amounts, but it is very interesting what you can do with that stuff. And I just think that when you
It,
actually get a handle on it, I think it'd be pretty sick.
I mean, look at that. That is pretty sick looking artwork when you think about it. And basically, what I did was I kept working with it, and I kept rendering different photographs of what I wanted to look like. So here's the cool thing about this. So people go, "Oh, well, AI is not art." Well, it is if you use your creative mind to make AI produce what you've got in your mind. You can become an artist by using what's in your mind. Just because I can't draw it doesn't mean I can't think it.
Well,
What what
I was
AI does for me is allows me to get it out of my head and onto canvas.
I was talking to Brent actually right around the time that I get this freaking cold that I've had for weeks. And he was talking about Michelle's next video, and he basically said, just have her sing a line and do like a snippet video, like a 10 to 20-second video of her singing a line in the song. And based upon that, he can construct a little 30-second teaser to get her opinion on something. I think that in itself is pretty wild. I mean, it does lend itself to the what do we call it? The guy, hey, you're in university, you sound great, you should start a band. You know what I mean? The next thing you know, he's out playing coffee houses. But
He really wants you to make uh an AI video with him.
and you know what? He and I are talking to it. I'm telling you, he I'm gonna play one of his tracks. I swear to God, because when he sent "I'd Had a Body for You," he told me how he came up with it, and I'm like, that's exactly the way that I kind of play when I when I put songs together, right? So anyway, yeah, no, I'd be down for sure.
Well, Brent's watching us right now. Don Coulter's online watching us right now. A couple of guys that we know. You haven't met Donnie Coulter, have you?
Only on here.
So Donnie is with a band called Creatures of Condition.
Yeah.
And they have several releases on the label. Some that are doing really, really well. They did Pictures of Matchstick Men, which was a remake of Francis Rossi tune, and it's actually gotten great reviews, and it's gotten lots of listens, and they made a really cool little video for it that's up on our YouTube channel. So if you ever never watched it, check it out. The
Very
tune is
cool.
really well done. It's probably one of the best. I would say it's the best rendition. I mean, Status Quo doesn't get many of their songs covered,
No, no, they don't.
and yet, I mean, what a great band.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I've got a friend that lives in Petawawa, and he always sends me all this, prog stuff, and I'm just like, yeah. I remind him of the meme of uh, the men's and women's bathroom at the Rush concert, where it's like a you know 200 guys trying to get in and three women.
right.
He gets all upset. But I can't say that I was ever into Status Quo. I can certainly appreciate them. Amazing players, amazing band, no question.
Right. We've got some we got some great prog bands coming on the label too. Shadow of Everest.
Love those guys, man. They were one of the ones that I referred. I saw them at Riverfest 2 years ago in Windsor, Nova Scotia, and so they do this festival. It's at a campground, and I was kind of up. We did our set on Friday night. I was milling around for the weekend, and this friend of mine said, "You got to go see those guys." And I went down, I saw them, and my jaw hit the friggin' ground. Uh, Wicked players, wicked band. Very excited to see them
Yeah,
come on
here's a
board.
band who's already amassed a great volume set of music that we're going to be publishing for them. I gotta think how many. I can't remember. Do you remember how many albums they've got out?
I
I'm
think they
thinking.
have four.
I want to say four.
Yeah,
I can't remember exactly without going to Spotify. So just hang on a second. They're called Shadow of Everest, and discography. We got one, two, three, and then a bunch of singles.
yeah, and they're
Uh,
currently looking for a guitar player, which I think they almost have resolved.
yeah, I mean that's a really hard thing to go in the middle of things and recruit a new guitar player. Um, when you're already 3 albums deep and you want to just keep going, and then you've got to switch your lineup. That's
Well,
tough.
well, and not only that, you're not talking 4/4 tunes, right? So it's not like it's not like you can go, hey, why don't you sit in with us? There's awful lot of work involved. So
Well, and it's always interesting when a new artist joins something like that, because I'm interested in seeing what they produce with a new guitar player.
yeah, and so Jonathan, their singer, rhythm guitar player, asked me to put the word out, which I've done, and I flipped them a name. They had four people they were looking into, and I don't know where they are in the process. I'm not privy
Right.
to that. He felt pretty good about it. And I mean, what happens in the original scene down here is there's the people that like each other follow each other, so they are familiar with each other's tunes, and so I think that there would be an ability for somebody to maybe jump in midstream, and it wouldn't be totally, off the charts.
That's right. So look for Shadow of Everest coming soon on Indie Tunes Records. We'll be probably uploading their catalog on our website first. So if you're looking for a great way to support a fully independent band, here's a great way to do it. You can download all their tracks off our website and purchase those outright. It's $1 a track. We're talking less than a cup of coffee per track. It'll last you a lifetime, and you'll have the personal licensing of those tracks. So, anyway, What else we got going on? I know Michelle Ryder's got a new single coming out. We're not going to say what that is, but we know she's got a new single coming out. We're going to be getting that out soon. We got a new single coming out from a band called Boiler Beach. They've been working on it back and forth and massaging the tune. I know Andrea was not like, she was like super, super, super diligent to work on the track. She is the producer for the band, and she was just wanted to really, really, really make sure that the tracks were produced as good as she could to her ability. So here's another band that does all their own recordings. They do all their own post production and their own mastering.
That's very cool, and I mean, to be able to do that. So I'm going to watch what I say here, because there is a tendency, and I don't think it's just an East Coast thing, but there is a tendency sometimes for people to get people or work with people because there's a perceived name, which the perception is it will draw attention to what you're doing.
Right.
And if it costs you money to do that, which it 9.5 times out of 10 it does, I think you need to do your due diligence. I don't necessarily like that word, but it applies, to make sure that it's going to be the right choice for you, because I've talked to a number of people who did that and it was not the right choice for them.
Right.
So I like what they're doing. That's great.
Yeah. So they got a tune coming out called My Own Way. They've already got like 4 singles out, and they've all done really well. Like I'm going to say in the 20,000s of streams. So they're a fun party band. They play live all over the place whenever they can. They play a bunch of shows. There's actually a documentary that's being filmed about them, and it's being screened at the Bruce, which is a pub up in Bruce County, which is Northern Ontario, up towards the Kincardine area, I believe.
Oh, wow. There's a blast from the past.
Kincardine. You remember that place?
I played Kincardine Christmas Day, 1994.
Sauble Beach used to be my place to hang out in the summertime as a young guy.
Yeah.
It was a hopping place back in the day, and I met people from Toronto and all over Ontario that went there for the May 2-4 weekend.
Well, and I had the pleasure of playing places like Blind River, Ontario, only in the summertime.
Blind
Smooth Rock
River.
Falls, Timmins. We used to joke that we did the OHL circuit.
Oh wow, that's crazy. So they've got a tune out. They got a tune coming out called My Own Way. Green Ink has a new tune coming out called Wait and See. We'll be putting that out in the next. That'll probably go out for February 23rd. A lot of these releases are gonna hit the live platforms around the 23rd. Brent's is the only one that's going out for February the 9th, and I think there's a lot of them now targeted on the 23rd, because we're trying to get all of our February releases out before the end of the month, and the 23rd gives us just a little bit of time, not a lot. 1, 2, let me look here. 3, yeah. So we're almost past that window now of opportunity to get that 4-week jump. What we've been finding is that by publishing music 4 weeks out from the time it's going to go live, is that there's a whole lot of things that happen behind the scene with that music, and it has greater chance of getting picked up by editorial playlists. It gets better chances of getting picked up on algorithmic playlists. Plus, you can do this cool pre-save thing now where you can send out a link to all your followers and say pre-save it, right? Or mark the date that it's going to come out for release. And that really helps with their stats right out of the hole. It really helps the algorithms push the music up to the top so that your music is actually being heard alongside of major label artists, but only for a short while. There's a very short window that occurs for. But the cool thing about it is that it does get you noticed, and playing some of these campaigns, which I've been doing with everybody's music, but it's really weird. Sometimes it's just how music will resonate with a certain audience,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
So the reason I want to use Green Ink as an example, because it's my project. I started it, but I got 3 great committed guys who are equally invested in this whole thing. And we've been at it now for the better part of 2 years writing music together. And I want to see if I can find it. Did I? Oh, I think I got rid of it. Anyways, Green Ink. I want to go to their. I want to go over to their stats, just so you can tell you something here that I think is really, really telling. Now Sean will tell you that I'm into analytics. That's a big deal with me.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm going to get as an
Yeah. Well, I want to see what you're putting up here. I kind of am now too. It's interesting how. So I had a post I downloaded to Jason, my producer, said you got to get YouTube Studio, which I did. And there was an interview that I had out 2 weeks ago, and when I went on it, it was the most interesting thing. I had 0 female watchers, and not like 0 in the 35 to 60, like none across the board. It was 100% male, and I was trying to figure out why, and and I did, and basically the stats helped me with that. So
well, here's a little experiment we did with this. We did not this song one of our songs just topped over 10,000 streams, and it we didn't do anything with it. We didn't do any playlisting with it or anything. We just put it out there. And we just put our music out there with absolutely no expectations. And now we've got 563 monthly listeners, which I think is pretty decent for a band that doesn't play. Like, we don't play live. We just record music here in my studio, and we try to put out, a few tracks a year. So we just started putting out in 2023. And our goal is to try and put a track out every couple of months from our sessions.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting thing about it, when you started breaking down some of our stats, the cool thing about it is that what boggled me was all the listeners that we have. We have listeners in the United States, United Kingdom, Germany, Canada, France, Spain, Italy, Hungary, Brazil, the Netherlands, Switzerland, Austria, and the list goes on. I cannot believe the amount of engagement that our music has gotten. It's just one of those weird things. You just don't expect it. I posted about it today on Facebook, and nobody made a boo. Nobody said anything except one of the guys in the band. He put a happy face on, or a wow or something like that.
Yeah, again, it's I had these guys on. It hasn't been released yet. It's called the Kiss Army podcast. They're out of Montreal. Pasquale and Claudio, who do a great job. They've had some great guests on. Off camera, we talked about that very topic. They were like, "How can we grow our YouTube?" And it's I just basically channeled my inner Michael Brandvold and just basically said, you gotta chill on all that stuff. It will happen eventually, and uh, it's weird. It's just weird what resonates with people.
Well, it is weird. I mean, we do I guess what we wouldn't call what we do pretty orthodox. I mean, you can't nail us down to one specific genre, because some of our music has a prog feel, some of it has a rock feel, some of it has a psychedelic feel. People have described our music as stoner music.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe you get a bunch of stoners listening to you. Who knows?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, sit back and smoke a joint and listen to our music. I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, if it turns your crank, listen to it.
Yeah.
But the cool thing was that now we have 107 people that are subscribed to our Spotify, which we didn't ask for. And now those 107 people get notified every time we put something new out, which is kind of cool. Like you do that without even having to do anything. The interesting thing about it, when you break it down even further, our audience is 40% female and 57% male, and the others aren't specified.
Yeah, well, I mean, that again, that's important info, right? Because that can help you target or help you, when you're going to do a campaign on something, um, where you want to take it and what have you.
Well, it
It,
tells me that chicks like girls like our music too. Women like our music as much as men do.
yeah, and I mean, all this stuff is interesting because back when we were getting Michelle's stuff going, you said she needs a music page on Instagram or whatever. She's got almost 2,000 followers on her music page. That's about, I don't know, 3 months old. The interesting thing is, I'd like to say a lot of them are coming from bar stools and band talk, but they're not. A lot of them are coming from, you know, indie
Now,
tunes and
is her music page an actual page, or a, is it a profile?
it's a page.
It is so it's one of those business pages that you could have the choice of going over and using all the meta tools with it.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, the cool thing about having a page, which is different than groups, okay? So, pages allows your music to get published across a whole bunch of different platforms. So, it's always to a band's advantage to have a page versus a group, but groups are great too if you want to lobby your group to do something. So, if there's a call to action, okay, you're putting out a new song and you want your troops to stream your song when it first comes out, then that's a great place to do a call of action in a group.
Mm-hmm.
But your page is more about advertising who you are and those connections of who you are. Plus, it also allows you to publish your music directly to Facebook, which is really cool because then your music can be used in shorts, it can be used in reels, it can be used in a whole bunch of different things. Facebook, and I see our artist music getting used in reels. I use it. I use our artist music in reels. And I'm encouraging people to do that because the more your music gets played on those reels, you actually earn royalties off of those.
Which
Thanks.
is what the game is all about.
Thanks to companies like mine who publish your music in all the right places. Brent's got a good point. We'll talk about this one briefly. ISRC coding's a big deal with Indie Tunes too. Yes, it's an absolutely big fucking deal. And I'll tell you why ISRCs are so important. Those are the international codes for sound recordings. So they're a fingerprint that proves without a shadow of a doubt that recorded work belongs to you. If you own the wave masters to your song and you have them coded with an ISRC, and that ISRC is listed in your repertoire at SOCAN, and if you're with SOCAN, you should always choose BMI. Don't choose ASCAP, choose BMI. BMI has been around the longest. They're the biggest collection society that exists in the US, and they can help collect royalties, even if your music ends up in black box royalties. But we'll talk about other royalties collection societies that do that as well. There's just so much that we teach people, but we also end up doing for artists. And I don't think that a lot of people realize how much work goes into encoding a track, right?
Well, and I mean, it's funny when we've had a couple of conversations with people and it gets to the cut, and it's like, okay, well, you're gonna do all this stuff yourself because you don't want to give up a cut. What's your time worth? And that's the piece that I think people really miss. I don't know. It's we as musicians are a funny lot, right? We want everybody to pay us, but we don't want to pay anything ourselves. We want everything for free.
Well, and the thing is that you get what you pay for. I mean, the reality is that nothing can always be done for free, and there's a time and place when everybody's got to have a little skin in the game if they're hoping to get a little something out of it.
Oh, absolutely.
And as we talk about this, moving forward, this is season 4, episode 3. That's the way we're going to do things from here on in. And we're going to talk about stuff like this from week to week because, Sean, you've got great insights into it. You know people that deal with it every day. And here we come along with an opportunity for artists where we take care of most of the heavy lifting that's related to publishing music and making sure it's published in all the right places and make sure that the artists can actually collect all the royalties that are owed to them.
Yep, 100%. And again, I think, I mean, you talk to from people that have never dealt with a label before to people that have and have had a great experience to people that have had a terrible experience. Um, and again, it's what Indie Tunes is doing is a lot different than what everybody else is doing, and that kind of needs to be stated, and people need to get it. Like, sometimes it's like, oh, it's too good to be true. Well, no, it's not. It's not like join up and money's going to fall from the sky. But certainly, I've worked with other labels. I've been signed to other labels. It's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, and I mean the thing that we're really we don't advertise it as a means of trying to recruit people, but the thing is that our remuneration model is better than any you'll ever find at any record label. What artists make 75% of their income off their music?
Well, and it's so funny because I had this conversation with somebody the other day about, and it was as it related to streams and what have you. I used the example of the show Three's Company
Mm.
when Larry Dallas wanted to play Jack's Bistro, and Jack was like, "Oh, you can't sing," so you know Larry packs a room with his buddies, and everybody goes nuts. He ends up getting the gig because he fools Jack into thinking that he's that good. And I think sometimes that's what people do. I think they do it at shows. I think they do it with streaming. I think they have people believe that they're bigger than they are, and that's a hard thing to keep up if you don't have help. And so why do it on your own?
Well, and there is a true saying about all of this stuff. Like, you have to fake it until you make it.
Every day of my life. Like,
I mean, even as a musician, there are times where that you made a mistake. Now, hopefully, you're the only one that knows you made the mistake, unless you're playing to a room full of musicians. Then they're likely going to notice. But for the most part, you're the only one that actually is in the room that actually notices that mistake.
yeah, and it's funny. We did a show Saturday night, and we were doing a song, and I dropped my drumstick, and when I dropped it, it went underneath my pedal, and part of it was jammed up. And
I
anyway,
saw that.
yeah. Long story short, I could not get the pedal working. I had to go over to my left foot, and I had to use my left hand, and all this stuff. Was it a mistake? Yeah, it was, and nobody knew about it until I brought it up. And oh yeah, I saw that, and somebody showed. They sent me a video of the exact second when it happened. And you know what? It sounded pretty darn good.
Those. You know what you need is those little curly straps.
Oh yeah, like the strings that they used to have on the mittens there when.
Yeah, that's right. Little curly strap. Put it around your wrist,
Yeah.
so it's not obtrusive on your wrist. So it's like a wristband,
Yeah.
right? But it's tied to the end of the drumstick. So if you ever drop the stick, all you got to do is go, whoop, there you go.
Well, and here's the thing: people are like, "Oh, they'll come out. Oh, you sure drop a lot of sticks." Yeah, I do. I drop about 4 to 5 sticks a show. I've got a bag of about 18 pairs, so it doesn't matter. But again, it's one of those things where if we do 2 sets or we do 1 set and we do a bunch of cool songs, and Michelle's singing her head off, and what you get into the whole show is me dropping a stick, you're really missing the point. Like,
that was, that's a real bugger, switching over to hitting the beater with your left foot.
Well, I made a post about it last year because I would never consider myself ambidextrous. I've always been a good double kick player, but there can be some holes in that. So last year I decided I'm going to work on a lot more on weak hand, weak foot, and that was a good thing on my part because it worked out pretty good on Saturday night.
Oh man, that's like the guy that says, "No, I'm not going to say that." um, you know, when I think about all the stuff that we do that makes a difference, um, I always have a hard time because people have a hard time getting past the whole thing. Oh, you want 25%. And I'm not, I'm going to be completely transparent about that. Right. I mean, what artist gets 75 cents on the dollar? Right. The best label deal I've ever seen is 16 cents on the dollar. And
Yep.
that also means giving up an awful lot of rights. It means giving up all the rights to your music. It means a whole lot of things. I mean, with us, you maintain 100% of the rights to your music. You maintain 100% rights to artistic direction. We just consult on those things,
Mhm.
right? And we don't tell people nothing. What we do is prescriptive at all, and they get 75 cents on every dollar that they earn. And sometimes they're earning money they would never have earned before if it weren't for all of the places that we register their music.
Yeah, here's the thing though, right? There's this thing out now called the internet. People use the internet to do research, and they kind of like they go and I deal with an awful lot of subject matter experts in my daily life, and I dealt with it today with a couple people. Twice since I've been doing this thing have I been asked to uh, give a podcast fee. And what a podcast fee is basically is an amount that you pay a guest for the guest to hold a date, and it's non-refundable, so they get it, and you have to pay it ahead of time. And I've been told that a lot of times, as soon as that you pay that, the date can bounce around, and it becomes this kind of cat and mouse thing. I've only been asked twice, and oddly enough, 2 times I was asked by drummers that wanted this fee. But I had never heard of it before. So the first thing I did is I went to a couple of podcast people that I knew, and I asked them, and they gave me the what on it. And a whole bunch of people that don't have podcasts weighed in and offered me advice, to which I was kind of like, okay, well, that's interesting.
I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you something. So this is this was the if I can find it. This was off our last. Oh, this is off the single that got 10,000 streams. This is the artwork.
Okay.
The song's called "I Don't Know." The song is about nothing. I mean, the lyrics don't even make any sense. The song is literally about nothing. It's more about the groove that we found when we played this jam, and I just put some lyrics to it. But it, in a sense, it does. The dog makes sense if you listen to the lyrics where I refer to doggy do, then then the lyrics the lyrics actually make sense, right? So that was one. Another one I want to show you is our current artwork for our latest release that's going to be coming out. And this is off a tune. This is off a tune called "Wait and See." Oh, I lost you there. What happened?
I don't know.
You glitched there. Let me see if this is the one. Yeah, this. So this went through a couple of different renditions, just only for the way I put the words on it. But I thought it was kind of cool artwork. So the other one was a photograph I took of my dog, and then did the artwork around the photograph of my dog for the first one, because I don't know. Dog's laying on his back. He doesn't care, right?
Yeah.
So that was the theme of the song. This is another one called "Wait and See," and let me share that one with you. There it is. There.
Interesting.
So got the eyeball at the top there. That was all produced using AI.
Very cool.
So I coached the AI what I was looking for, and there's all different kinds of filters that you can use. So I think I was using like a psychedelic filter, and so it starts putting a psychedelic spin on it, which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And hence all the vibrant colors. I just love the what I liked about it the most are the vibrant colors. I mean, look at how vibrant that is.
Very cool.
And then I thought with the lettering, I would just pick up on one of those green overtones because the band is called Green Ink. And so when I ink our artwork, it's all inked with green ink.
Ingenious.
Well, it kind of keeps the theme, right?
Absolutely.
And we're the album itself, well, it's not a themed album. The album is actually being released single by single. So this will be our 5th single when it comes out. The whole first 4 tracks have roughly, I think, a total of 20,000 streams. So it's modest, but it's gaining some traction. We're gaining some regular listeners. And we're probably going to put a couple of bonus tracks on it when we release it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set it so that people can actually print off the artwork if they want.
That's cool.
So, and you can, what I want to do is set it up where you could actually print it. Well, if you could print it on 12 by 12 cardstock, it'd be like an album, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Why not?
If you could print it on 12 by 12, and who knows, we might end up printing it on 12 by 12 cardstock and stocking it and selling it off the website. Just to see if there's an interest in collecting the artwork. I know people used to collect artwork for albums. I've got album artwork posted all over in my studio.
I think you'll find there will be an appetite for that.
Yeah. So, as we produce stuff like that, here's another marketing opportunity in terms of what we can offer artists down the road as we help them produce artwork. We've got guys like Brent Durner, who owns Red D Film, who makes awesome videos. So another business contact for people that join the label. And the cool thing about it is that right now it doesn't cost you anything to join us. Is that going to change down the road? Well, we certainly want people to consider about what it means to have skin in the game. And already some people are, investing in services that we're going to offer. One of those services that we're going to be offering is uploading artist videos to Vivo, to Tidal, to Deezer, to iTunes. And there's a growing list of streaming services that are now carrying music videos.
Yeah, and that's really, I think, a logical step for people, like just to have those services available. If I could,
yes, sir.
I've had people ask me, and I dabbled in it a little bit last year about the audio version of my podcast, and I think the first one that you're going to load on my behalf is an interview that I did with a gentleman by the name of James Kotak, who passed away about 3 weeks ago.
That's
former
right.
drummer, former drummer of the Scorpions, former brother-in-law of Tommy Lee, married to Tommy Lee's sister. I interviewed him. It was very bizarre. I interviewed him January 3rd of last year. And I get the reminder, hey, this was a year ago, and he passed away the next day, which was very strange. So,
yeah, my daughter's been like saying, you guys got to get Athena on the show.
Athena?
Yeah.
Well, her boss could make that happen, I think.
Well, I'd like to get Athena on the show. I'd love to have a conversation with her about her drumming. And she's had an interesting life. She not only has an interesting life because she's the sister of Tommy Lee.
Yep.
But she's also was married to James Kotak.
She was, yep.
An interesting relationship there. 2 drummers married.
Well, they had a band. I think it was called Kotak. He was a singer and she played drums. But she also played in Femme Fatale with Lorraine Lewis.
That's right.
Yeah.
So very, very interesting. I would love to have her on the show. I think she'd be an interesting guest to have. Future guest ideas. If you got future guest ideas, put them in the chat room. Send us an email at indietunes@gmail.com if you've got something like that you want to request. But, we're going to do some content shows. Next week looks like it's going to be another content show. I don't think we have any guests lined up for next week. I know that Rick Emmett has agreed to come back on the show again. So we're going to be looking at getting him on the show either the end of February or sometime into March. So we'll look at that and get that on the calendar. There's a couple other guys that I kind of want to get on here if I can. And we didn't even get into the Spotify streaming changes and all the things that they're putting in place that are going to, change the way royalties are paid out by Spotify, which in so many ways is still a great mystery.
Yeah.
You got magazines like Billboard that claim to have the inside scoop on that. I don't think they have the inside scoop. I think there's a lot been leaked out. I know that there were Philip Kaplan, who owns DistroKid, had a whole lot of questions about, the whole bot streaming thing. He says, we have no idea if an artist has engaged in hiring a promotional firm to get their music playlisted or get it streamed until they've actually done it.
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting. There was a movie that I watched.
Like chasing an ambulance,
Well, absolutely, absolutely. Well, there was a movie I watched on the weekend, and it was on Netflix. Give them a little plug. I'm just going to pull up the title. It was called Crap.
It was called Crap.
Yeah.
Sounds like a crappy movie to me.
No, it was good. The Social Dilemma. So it's all about social media. So they have some people who were the original, like they had the guy that created the like button on Facebook. They had people that created different things on Instagram, and they talked about exactly what social media is all about and all these things are all about. And there's three things, and I won't give them away, but basically the bottom line is all they're trying to do is get you to spend money, and all they're trying to do is get you to pretty much think everybody's life is better than yours, so spend money to basically up the game. And they're trying to make as much revenue for themselves and the least amount of revenue for the people that are taking part. So very interesting stuff.
And that may be why I got 0 comments on my post about our song reaching 10,000 streams. I thought it was a milestone worth sharing. I shared it out. Nobody responded to it. I don't know if that's Facebook shutting down my algorithm, going, you know what? You're looking to other people for your validation. We're not going to let you do that unless you pay for it.
No. That is that's your classic. Somebody doesn't want to be happy for you. They want you to be happy for them, but they don't want it to be happy for you. That's another part of what this documentary brought up.
Yeah.
Because there's this whole before I even got on Facebook, and I was a late bloomer, man. I didn't get on until I think 2019, straight up. But everybody's life is great on Facebook, is what I always heard. And it's funny. It's funny. You see some people. I won't name a name, but there's a friend of mine today that, oh my, love a duck. I know her. I've known her for years, and you would think she's a Kardashian.
The funny thing about it is that I think I put it on there the other day that here's a couple of things. One of those things it was this was all about relative to repeating the same thing and expecting different results.
Yep.
Being sort of the definition of insanity.
Yep.
But I mean, there's this whole thing that happens on social media where they expect you to, they don't really want you to join a community. They want you to pay to be part of a community. But there's also people on there, like you say, who don't want to be part of your community, and they don't want to share in your success.
No, they want you to share in their success, but they don't want to do the same. And that's very unfortunate because, I mean, And again, this is a topic we talk with Michael all the time. Just because there's numbers doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's got the world by the tail. And it's a huge misconception. It took
Right.
Michael a bunch of times telling me that for me to get it. But the simple fact of the matter is that, and somebody's like, oh, well, that's just the way that it is. Well, okay, no problem. But you can also choose to not partake. And that's the part where people, they think they're missing out on
True.
something. And you heard me talk about Matt Starr quite a bit. Matt Starr had a great topic today when he went live, and it was stop effing caring what people think. And and
I
it was
saw that.
and listen, I anybody that knows me knows that it's an ongoing theme with me. Where if you come out and see me play, great. I don't care what you think. I play for myself.
Right.
And Matt's whole thing was, in this age of social media, basically somebody could post a video of you flubbing something. That's one moment in time that happened that they just happened to catch. That's not
Right.
a condemnation or an example of your playing. It's just something. And so, the whole thing is people just need to stop it. They need to get over it.
This is one of the latest fake book requests for a friend request for me from Jason Momoa.
Oh yeah.
Come on. Jason Momoa, honestly, sending me a friend request. What are the chances of that? Never.
Well, I got one from Tommy Lee 2 weeks ago. And I got
How
one
do you even
from,
know it's how
it's
you know
not
it's
Tommy
Tommy
Lee.
Lee?
It's not. And I also got one
Exactly
from
what I'm saying.
I also got one from the blonde girl on Big Bang Theory. Yeah, that's probably legit too.
The ones that are always the dead giveaways, right?
Yep.
So here's one here. I have to show this because here's the dead giveaway here with this one. This is, and we're going to do a show maybe this on this one night, right? There's a dead giveaway right there. No friends in common. And then if you go and look, there's like 3 photographs on the profile, and then you look a little bit further and there's no information to show except for the photograph, of course, which is
Oh yeah.
the thing you're supposed to be focusing. The thing you're actually supposed to be focusing on is the photograph. Like, come on, get out of here, go away.
She
And
she
they all
found
have these.
she found somebody's profile at patheticmen.com.
I have no idea, but I get hundreds of those a week.
Well,
And they're the most ridiculous names. Like there's one chick on there that I got, she's wearing a thong and her name is called Gasket. Who names their kid Gasket?
well, I don't know.
Well, maybe Henry Ford.
Okay, I'll bite. And it's funny.
Man.
I'll get these friend requests and I don't get rid of them. But here's a funny one. I'll just put it up on the screen. This is from a guy named Luther.
Okay.
Hold it now.
Is it gone?
No. Where is it? That's a guy named Luther.
It's a guy named Luther. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Gee, you think I'm gonna fall for that?
Maybe she's a god. Maybe she meant guitar luthier.
Maybe. I want to give quickly before we go. I've got to give a shout out here. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is Miss Diane Warren, who
straight up there. Oh, it switched.
Yeah, Diane Warren, his I believe 23 or 24 Oscar-winning songs, 15 platinum. Anyway, she's a major songwriter. She's written for Cher. She's written for Aerosmith. She just received her, I believe, 23rd Oscar nomination for a song. I'm friends on Facebook with her niece, Michelle, who Diane actually heard Miss Ryder sing a Cher song and wants us to do a version of it. So you never know. But anyway, congrats to her. That's a huge feat because that puts her in a stratosphere of over a lot of people.
Definitely, definitely. Well, you know what? We never have a lack of subject matter on this show to talk about. So I think
Nope.
we have to continue this episode. This will be we'll head into our next episode. This is season 4, currently episode 3, but we'll be doing episode 4 next week and probably sticking with the same subject matter, but we'll maybe get into the streaming royalties changes that are occurring on Spotify, why that matters, what's changing in streaming, and what we're trying to do about it over at TUNZ Records and the platform we're trying to build to help artists. So a lot in there. Listen, everybody, thanks for joining us this week. This has been my co-host Sean over here. We got a tip jar right here. You can scan that tip jar.
Oh, I got to go the other way now.
And so that's been Sean from the podcast Barstools and Band Talk.
Peace.
Rim Shots with Sean. I'm Kenny from TUNZ Records, and you are not. Have a great